I'm Paula Hancock's in Seoul, and this is CNN.
Closing bell ringing on Wall Street. The Dow showing very good gains off the best of the day. It's given back maybe 50 points or so, but still a robust, healthy session across all the major indices. And that's the sort of gavel you need to bring trading to a close on Thursday. It's August the 16th. Tonight, bouncing back. The Dow's just had its best day in many months. Larry Kudlow says China's looking terrible as new trade talks are put into the diary. And football's coming here. I'll speak to the company taking Spanish football stateside. And by that I mean football, none of that American stuff. I'm Richard Quest, live in the world's financial capital, New York City, where, of course, I mean business on a good day for the Dow. Good evening. Tonight, Wall Street comes surging back. China says trade talks are back on again, and the delegation is heading soon to Washington. These are the reasons why you're going to see such a strong performance of the Dow Jones Industrials, indeed, and the S&P 500. The Dow has been driven higher by those stocks which benefit particularly from the China deal or the China potential talks and Walmart results. So Boeing is 100 points, Walmart is 60 points, Goldman Sachs is 30 points, Caterpillar 30 and Apple 25. It puts perspective into how the Dow has made such good gains in one day. Larry Kudlow is the director of the White House Economic Council and promising this rally still has room to grow.
Our economy, our investors, our workforce are crushing it right now. We are crushing it. And people say this is not sustainable, it's a one-quarter blip, it's just nonsense. Absolutely not. Any business economist worth his or her salt will look at these trends and tell you we're going for a while. The single biggest story this year is an economic boom that is durable and lasting and that most people thought was impossible.
Durable, lasting, and most people thought were impossible. Paula Monaco, good who is with me, is right. I mean, there is an economic boom taking place in the United States that, well, politically, one could disagree on whether people thought it was possible, but the economics are there.
Yeah, this is a very solid economy right now, Richard, and I think that Larry Kudlow is correct to assert that it could be sustainable. One of the things that a lot of people forget sometimes when they talk about how the economy is, the economic boom is getting old, is that it wasn't that big of a boom to begin with for a lot of people. It was such a shallow rebound that it felt sort of as if the U.S. was stagnating for a while. So now we're picking up some steam. I think the hope is that if you resolve some of these trade issues, and that's why the market rallied today, that could give the economy and hence the market a further lift.
Right, but that's an interesting point that you've just been talking about. The early days of the post-Great Recession recovery were down at less than 1%, 1.5%, whatever. Are you saying that really this bull market, which is one of the longest in history, this bull market, really we should look at it as being from a later date, in the sense of those first times where they don't really count?
Yeah, I don't know if you would go so far to say as they don't count. I just think that people who only look at the age of the bull market and decide that, oh, well, the economy now must go into a recession soon, or that the market has to fall from these levels, I think that is a bit of a fallacious argument. You could have the rebound go on longer as long as earnings growth is there, and so far it's been there. Remember, the first quarter was supposed to be the best, as good as it gets for a while. What was it, high watermark according to Caterpillar? And the second quarter has turned out to be pretty much just as good, if not better.
So the earnings season gave a certain oomph to this. Walmart, which we'll talk more about in just a moment, Walmart has given further reason for us to accept it was a good earnings season. Things are as good as they're likely to get.
Yeah, I think the Walmart numbers, which I know you're going to talk about in more detail, were very solid, shows the health of the U.S. consumer. Don't discount Cisco. Cisco's also in the Dow. It's a lower price stock, so it doesn't have as much weight.
Right.
But Cisco's results and outlook really gave the tech sector a boost today, and I think that was much needed.
Netflix was down and Facebook were down.
Netflix and Facebook were down, but I think we're at a stage now where as long as the mature tech companies, Cisco, Apple, Microsoft, if they can keep doing well, you throw Google owner Alphabet in there, that's not the worst thing in the world if Netflix and others aren't doing as well.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
China says trade talks with the United States are back on. And it comes as the country's stocks certainly could do with a boost. The Shanghai Composite is on a 4-day losing streak and is fast approaching what one would describe as a bear market. Now, you remember, bear market is where, well, a correction is up to 10%. Bear market, you're heading towards 20% down. So these are the falls, and the serious fall on Wednesday, and a year-to-date fall of 18.2%. China's powerhouse tech giants are feeling the pressure, and we're seeing that in the numbers. Tencent was down again following disappointing earnings. JD.com earnings also were short. Larry Kudlow, who you heard a moment ago, the head of the Economic Council, the chief economic advisor, I should say, Larry Kudlow says the Chinese economy right now looks terrible.
Their economy is just heading south. Retail sales, business investment is collapsing in China, according to the numbers. Industrial production has fallen and now is plateauing at a low level. People are selling the currency. There may be some manipulation, but mostly I think investors are moving out of China because they don't like the economy, and they're coming to the USA because they like our economy. I'm not a China expert, although I'm boning up as fast as I can. I would just say right now their economy looks terrible.
Larry Kudlow brings great credibility to the whole process when he gives answers like that. David Dollars in Washington. David serves as a U.S. Treasury emissary to China and is now senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. Do you agree with Larry Kudlow that the Chinese economy is, in his words, looking terrible?
Chinese economy is decelerating. There's no question about that. But I would not say that it's terrible. It's still growing pretty well. It's going to do 6.5% or more for the year. So I think it's an exaggeration to say that the economy's cratering. But clearly the Chinese economy has decelerated while the U.S. economy is accelerating. So the two are moving in different directions. That's certainly affecting their respective stock markets.
And the reason for that deceleration can often be described as bad debts, overhang of debt in the market, and Chinese government policy. But also the trade tariffs will eventually also play into that reason.
I would put most of the emphasis on the government policy. China's been growing very much based on credit growth for a long time, and starting last fall, they really began to rein that in. And so you saw their stock market starting to fall after January, and that was a result of their deleveraging campaign. And now the trade war is piling on top of that. So definitely the trade war is not helping. The market's down 24% from a high in the middle of January. So in that sense, it really is in a bear market now.
But there is a feeling that there's an orderliness to it. That doesn't feel, I mean, if the goal is to take the steam out of a Chinese economy, to allow the currency to find a more natural level, then there's a certain success in the way it's been implemented.
Yeah, I was just in Beijing meeting with officials and academics. They're pretty relaxed. Some of this slowdown is exactly what they wanted. There has been overinvestment in China. The only way to correct that is for investment growth to slow down. So I think they're mostly on target. Maybe a little bit, July data, a little bit too low in terms of investment. So then they fine tune. They come back with a little bit more credit with fiscal stimulus. So I think they have the tools to hit their target.
And from your recent visit, were you able to glean their stomach for a full-fledged trade war with the United States?
Yeah, I think they're preparing for a long-time conflict. So it's good news that their vice minister of commerce is coming to talk. That's a pretty low level, so that's just keeping the lines of communication open. I think the Chinese expect that this will last throughout 2018, and they have to find other types of stimulus to keep their economy going. They're not really counting on quick resolution of the trade conflict.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you. Please come back again and give us the perspective. Okay. We appreciate it. So breaking news I need to bring to your attention. The Vatican has responded to this week's detailed report on the historic abuse of children committed by hundreds of Roman Catholic priests in the United States state of Pennsylvania. Barbie Nadeau is on the line from Rome. What's interesting about this, we've been waiting for the Vatican's response. We've had various dioceses from across the United States, and now the Vatican's given its word.
Interesting about this is the language that they've chosen. They're using the word criminal, and that's something we haven't heard from the Vatican when it comes to clerical sex abuse. We hear them talking about sins and omissions and forgiveness and prayers, but this is really the first time in a statement by the Vatican we've heard them acknowledge these accusations as criminal. And I think that that is exactly what the victims have been asking for, that validation that these are crimes. These aren't sins. These are actual crimes punishable by courts of law and prison terms and all the sorts of things that happen in the secular society. And I think the victims will be pleased that this is a step in the right direction, but there's probably still a long way to go before they feel justice, Richard.
Why do you think the Vatican has taken that extra step of describing them as crimes? Why are they moving forward in that fashion?
Well, I think this has been a public relations nightmare for the Pope. This Pennsylvania grand jury has really called attention to 7 decades of rampant violence against children in one state alone in the United States. And I'm going to guess some of that pressure actually came from the United States Church, who have admitted their own culpability and their weaknesses in this area. And having the Vatican endorse them in trying to make valid changes and in trying to keep people in the pews, keep people in church. Right now you've got a situation where you think more than 1,000 children were abused for 7 decades. That can't be a secret. People knew about this. And the Catholic Church in the United States takes this sort of thing very seriously. And I think that they've probably pressured the Holy See here in Rome to make a statement that counts. I don't think I heard that the main spokesperson for the Vatican is American. I think that probably weighs into it quite a bit when we're seeing language that works in the States and it's coming from their spokesperson who certainly knows what language would work.
Nadeau, who's in Rome, thank you. Aretha Franklin won her first Grammy for this. She would go on to win 17 more. The head of the Recording Academy joins me to remember the legendary artist.